The European Super League is back, and unfortunately it just won't go away. Earlier today, A22 Sports Management Company released a statement in which they outlined the new proposals for an 80-team European Super League. Now, my first reactions were, of course, I was expecting them to come back one day with some sort of statement about how they were going to re-propose the Super League, because after they proposed initially in April 2021, it went down like a lead balloon. There were protests around every club of the Big Six in England. People were not happy, the media jumped on board, the government jumped on board. People who weren't even interested in football were talking about this. It was a massive news story in world and footballing news, and rightly so. The teams of the Big Six in England decided they're going to pull out of it. It was not the right thing for their clubs. They've made a mistake. They've realised the fact that they made this mistake. However, the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, just to name a few, decided to stay in the Super League. And now they're back almost 2 years later, and they've put out a PR statement. It's not them saying that, oh look, the Super League is back. It's just them saying, look, we understand the concerns you had initially. Here are the new proposals we have for this, and actually we think these are even better, and we're the good guys. You should come to us and we can help each other out. Because they're worried, and there's an argument to say rightly so, because of the fact that Barcelona are in financial troubles, Juventus are in financial troubles. The Premier League is getting all the money, and it's not necessarily the Premier League's fault. You know, their advertising, their marketing team are doing amazing, and they're drawing all this money from TV rights, sponsorships, and all the teams in the Premier League are getting a lot of money, and this, in comparison to the rest of Europe, is a lot. You're seeing the likes of Southampton, Bournemouth, Leeds United even, who are spending a hell of a lot of money in the January transfer window just to avoid relegation, and they're taking players from top teams in other European leagues. Sarabia, who was at PSG, Wolves have just signed him, and I think there is an argument for a reform in football of some sort. And I don't think the Super League is that though, because at the core of it, at the very core, the Super League will protect the interests of the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, and the other big teams should they choose to sign up. And they kind of hide behind the fact that, oh, we're going to make it meritocratic and there's going to be a relegation of some sort, there's going to be promotion of some sort. We're going to have a so-called reward, we're going to hold up the brass ring, so if you want to, you can try and achieve the best you can. But realistically, it's not going to be protecting the smaller clubs and the smaller teams in each individual country. It's going to be about the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, because unfortunately there are some owners who buy football clubs because they're in it for the money. They're not in it for the love of the game. And when they buy a football club, their incentive is, I'm going to make this asset as much money as possible, and I'm going to inflate the value, and then at a good moment in time I'm going to sell it for a profit, and I'm going to make more money than I did before. And when you're talking about football clubs being worth billions and billions, we saw it with Chelsea, with Todd Bowley coming in, buying the club for 4-ish billion. You see Man United for sale, Liverpool for sale, and the figures apparently being quoted that you would need to buy those clubs. You can understand exactly why owners come in and they see this as a profit-making venture rather than football clubs with fans and heritage, and it's ruining the game. But at the same time, like I've said, I can understand why teams and fans in other leagues can be a little bit worried. I don't have any sympathy for Barcelona, and I don't have any sympathy for Juventus, because they've broken La Liga and Serie A rules respectively, and so they've caused their own demise. They've overspent what they could, and with the financial situations and the league position they find themselves in is wholeheartedly because of them, because they've overspent. I mean, Barcelona spending crazy money on Coutinho, Dembele, loads of players, and then selling them for pennies and disregarding their youth team. And the whole thing has just been trying to chase success, or so-called success, getting trophies, getting La Liga titles, Champions League titles, where they could have found a model to do it more sustainably. And it is difficult keeping up with the Premier League because of the amount of money there is in it. And that's why I feel sorry for the fans of other leagues, because you see your players getting poached so easily by the Premier League, like the likes of Bournemouth and Southampton, with the greatest respect to those two teams. But they're, 20 and 19 respectively in the Premier League at this moment in time? And you're seeing top European talent go to those teams because they can pay more wages, they can pay more transfer fees, the agents get more money, and then it's kind of leaving the rest of Europe behind. So as a fan of the Premier League, for me it's exciting because the league is so competitive. You've got the likes of Brighton, Fulham, Brentford, Newcastle, Arsenal at the top of the league, all doing amazingly. And they've got the traditional teams like Chelsea and Liverpool, who you would class as traditional top six, big six teams, who are struggling, who are 8th and 10th in the league at this moment in time. And that's the beauty of it, and the fact that you can see how diverse and how strong the league is, in which any team can win. You only have to look at Leicester's recent Premier League success and winning the Premier League, and everyone thought it couldn't happen, it was impossible. It was the impossible dream of Leicester winning a Premier League. And does the Super League allow for something like that to happen? I don't think it does. It protects the bigger teams with more fans who commercially are going to get more money, and they're going to be disproportionately far richer than they already are at the moment in time. And it's not a meritocracy, and they're kind of using that, they're kind of using other things as well. They could promote women's football, which I think is a good thing, but there's not the right incentive behind it. It's not because of the fact that you want to promote women's football because you think it's a good thing to do and it's for the better of that sport. It's just because you think, if we say in our outline that we're going to promote women's football, then all of a sudden, oh great, then you got a whole bunch of people on the bandwagon, when really that's not true. That's not what they're trying to do. It's completely false, and I think it is dangerous because there is competitiveness in other leagues. If you look at Serie A, the last 3 winners, AC Milan most recently, the year before Inter Milan, the year before Juventus, and that's competitive. And now it looks like, although we don't know what's going to happen in the second half of the season, that Napoli are going to win the season, and that's 4 different teams who are winners of Serie A in 4 different years. And it's up to Serie A to try and market their league in a way that's, oh, look at how competitive we are. We have different winners every year. Look how strong we are. All 5, 6, 7, 8 teams doing really well. And the issue comes is, because they're not doing well in the Champions League, because you always see the English teams, you always see Bayern Munich, PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona, that they want to protect their interest, because the further they get in those Champions Leagues, the more money and revenue they get to spend on players, and they're seen as the bigger clubs getting more trophies, getting more commercial value at the end of the day, more sponsorship deals, more shirt sales, everything. And all of a sudden, if Barcelona, like they do this season, find themselves in the Europa League, then they lose so much revenue and so much money. And I think it's got to be fair. I mean, you've got to have teams who, if they work within their means, if they buy players cheap and sell them for more money, and they keep within the financial restraints which are in the domestic leagues in which they're in, and they can achieve success, then they should be allowed to. And ultimately, is there too much money in the Premier League at this moment in time? I think so. I mean, the fact that Man City have a bottomless pit, Chelsea with Todd Bowley have a bottomless pit, Newcastle, their owners, once they've got that money and the league position higher up, they're going to have more money available. And the teams like Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, they all have rich owners and they can spend a lot of money if they choose to do so. So I think the Premier League does have too much money, which needs to be regulated, but that's its own problem which the Premier League needs to deal with themselves. The European Super League isn't the answer for all of that, and those are just my thoughts. And obviously the Super League isn't going to go anywhere time soon. It's April 2021 since it was first introduced. It is now the 9th of February 2023. It's going to keep on going. It's going to keep on going, and clubs and sporting directors and board members are going to keep fighting for the Super League. And I think reform needs to happen. But it's not necessarily in the fact that the big teams should get more money. There needs to be a reform which reduces the amount of money in football, limits it, caps it, however you want to word it, and it kind of encourages competition and promotes meritocracy in the sport. Because at the end of the day, everyone should be able to dream of the team winning trophies, silverwares, getting in the top 4, winning Premier League one day, if you do things the right way, and that should always be the goal.